we almost get nothing.
But Dave Chappelle, that's like a good get. How did you guys score him? Hello and welcome to the Asian American Forward podcast. Good to see you again in the same time zone, Don.
Glad to see you again in the same time zone. We're both in the
Eastern.
Coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I am excited for our topic this week. I had a lot of fun thinking about the script for this one because I think it does a little bit of what we do best, which is like some of the nitty gritty politics stuff, but also lots of personal stories from you about your political experience. And so we are talking about Andrew Yang has just secured a big endorsement from Grace Meng. Am I saying her last name right?
Yes.
Yes, right. Grace Meng. And so we wanted to kind of dive into the process of securing endorsements and their impact, talk a little bit about the process in general, but also like, I'm sure you're going to have some really fun stories to tell me about all the various endorsements you have gotten over the years. But before we get into Yang and Grace Meng, I want to hear a little bit about the general impact of endorsements. Like, how can they change a campaign?
Yeah, I think it's every politicians or every candidate during their campaign, the election, the most ingredients or factors or components is one is endorsement, the fundraising, and how many voters you can secure. But the voter secure is final the number to measure you can win the 51 and win the election. But endorsement is a big component second to the fundraising. Fundraising is always an indicator how much money you can raise and use the money to reach out to the voters. But the endorsement is also very important for every candidate. They put the endorsement at the number one or number two component in your the election. So it's if you got your endorsement, that's some indication you are a viable candidate. So it's I think it's for the Andrew's election, and this time we try to secure the Grace Meng. She's number one, is the highest ranking for the Asian community in New York City. And also she's the vice chair for the Democratic Party nationwide. So it's very, very important that this indicator is impact not only Andrew's election, but have an impact in nationwide. We are so excited, and Grace Meng endorsed Andrew just recently.
And now your like personal job for Andrew's campaign is more on the side, like of those three components, you're more on the side of fundraising, right?
Yes.
But so like, tell me about like what it's like to cross over to do like voter outreach and endorsements, and do those things interact at all?
Yeah, because I have involved a lot of political fundraising, but during the fundraising, you build a very close relationship with the donors, and also it's a connection with other politicians. So it's these two parties that actually is support to each other and have some relationship correlation to each other. So it's when you do the fundraising, you can use the donors' impact to the politicians to give them some pressure. That's the part of my job too. For the Andrews election in New York City, because you know the nationwide is anti-Asian hate crime and the violence has been generated a lot of fire, anger, and also it's uncertainty to the Asian community. Yeah. So it's I put a lot of work start from beginning to looking for seeking endorsement from Asian community leaders, both from the city levels Asian candidate, but also it's all the way to the state level and the federal level. Grace Meng is the most important endorsement that start from very beginning. I try to secure this endorsement. It's a part of my job too.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good example also of the cliche that like politics is people, because it's all about like the trust you have with your donors, the trust you have with politicians, the trust that voters have in their politicians and how that can impact your candidate. And of course, we've seen like recently in the 2020 primary that the Jim Clyburn announcement of or endorsement of Biden, like prior to the South Carolina primary, is really probably what pushed him, or part of what pushed him into ultimately like winning South Carolina, winning on Super Tuesday, and then securing the nomination. And he's now president. So endorsements can play a huge positive role on a campaign. But I'm also curious about, like, have you ever seen an endorsement backfire, or can they have a negative impact?
Yeah, it's for the endorsement, that is a very, very tricky thing. Sometimes if you're looking for the bad endorsement, it's going to backfire to your campaign, especially the people with late term of their in the office, and their impact is reduced. And also it's some bad news about particular elected officials. They have a bad personal experience, like a sexual harassment, those kind of allegation is severe to damage your campaign, especially when people didn't realize this kind of interaction between candidate and the endorsement. Those kind of things is going to be very, very careful. It's that we don't want to intoxicate the endorsement for the candidate.
Right. And so, like, for example, Scott Stringer, who is still in the race, despite allegations of sexual harassment, has kind of lost a lot of his endorsements. So, and you've also, the Yang campaign, secured endorsement from a candidate who's dropped out of the mayoral race, Carlos Menchaca. So, how do you like watch other candidates' endorsements? And are you gunning for anyone that has kind of reversed their decision on endorsing Scott Stringer?
Yeah, that's why for the New York election, this cycle is because we do the rank choice of voting system. So
Right.
this system is going to make the election very dynamic, and the interaction among all the candidates. So it's whoever drop off the candidacy, their voters and all their work, all their campaign, if you can get there the voting block, it's going to help you much easier and quicker and build your voter base. Mm-hmm. So it's we consistently looking for we have like a 13 candidate, and the last 5 or 6 candidate, they never have a chance to win. So at the last stage of a campaign, most people, they're going to drop off. So it's probably the competition is going to among the top 5. So it's the top 5 is going to have a good relationship with the last maybe 6 or 10 people. If they drop off, if you can pull them to your camp, it's going to help you a lot. That's why we try to consistently working with all other candidates. Of course, some people we never got a chance to working with them, but most likely is we can pick up someone from the people drop off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I do want to talk about how you kind of like went about getting Grace Meng's endorsement. But first, I want to back up a little bit and do my favorite thing, which is ask for some campaign trail stories from 2020. So how did the endorsement thing kind of play out for you guys back then?
For the 2020, that's like a history already. But at that time,
I know it feels like forever ago.
Yeah. It's but during that campaign team, is that people always laughing at Andrew, says he will never get any endorsement. But we got Martin Luther King's son, and we got his endorsement. So we secure a lot of Black people's votes, and also we got David Chappelle. He's a celebrity comedian, and he traveled with us and bring a lot of Black people to vote for us too. But in general, it's Andrew Yang's 2020 election. We focus on the grassroots. So from a money side, we just have a $10, $20, $30 the donation, instead of chasing for the big name endorsement, because all established Democratic Party, they put their endorsement on the senators or it's Congress members, and also it's Vice President Joe Biden. So that's the party machine run the endorsement. So it's an outsider. Andrew's probably never have any chance to get endorsement. Even I have tried to outreach to a lot of Asian and congressional members try to get their endorsement. We almost get nothing.
But Dave Chappelle, that's like a good get. How did you guys score him?
Yeah, it's the question is Andrew focused on the UBI. So the Black community, they like a UBI concept very much because the automation and the technology change has been changed the regular people's life a lot, especially Black community. So they think it's this original ideas UBI is coming from Martin Luther King. So it's, this one is we don't reinvent the wheel, but it's just carry the Martin Luther King's idea and just try to use presidential election as a platform to realize his dream. That's part of the game. So it's a David Chappelle, Martin Luther King's son, is the all God behind Andrew to support him.
Okay. And I do have to ask, like, what is Dave Chappelle like? I'm assuming you got to meet him. Is he hilarious in person, or is he just more like laid back?
Oh no! He's very energetic. Everywhere he goes, always bring love and joy and jokes. Even it's during the commercial break, we have a lot of commercials. He and Andrew together. But during the break, we go to the outside to have a cigarette and check to each other. It's pretty interesting, quite fun with him.
Did you meet anybody else famous that I would want to know about?
I think it's all the politicians, the presidential candidate that I always have in the green room. It's because we do the debate together, national debate together. We always are at the backstage. So it's each candidate have a certain room, one room for the preparation, the makeup and prepare the speech. And also it's all the stuff we're working around to each other, bump to each other. And in the corridor, we always say hi to each other. But Andrew, at the beginning, no one want to talk to him at the first or second debate. But later is in the after 3 times debate, every presidential candidate come here to either hug Andrew or shake hand, and also is admire his presentation during the debate. So it's among the staff, we become friends as well. At the beginning, we just like a stupid the farmers countryside is nobody pay attention to us. It's the change is pretty dramatic. It's so fun.
Can I ask if you have a favorite? Like, was there a candidate that you were like, oh, this person is just as a fun person to hang out with?
It's Cory Booker.
Cory Booker?
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah. Tell me more.
He's the most fun person and always fight with Andrew, pump to each other and joking to each other. And then the rest people is just a stone face. It's
serious
and very serious. And also it's a politician's smile. They are very fake. So it's but the rest people is pretty good.
Cory Booker's about the same age as Andrew? No?
Yeah. They probably so 1 or 2 difference. 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah. So thank you for indulging my gossipy side. I appreciate it. But I want to get back to the serious political stuff. So I want to pull back the curtain a little bit. How do you even decide like who should endorse a candidate? Like what makes a good endorser?
In general, it's depend on which level the office you run. So if you run the city level, you try to get the endorsement of a former city council or current city council, or it's a little bit higher. But the highest go to the congressional district, the congressman or congresswoman to endorse you, and his or her territory is definitely going to cover your district. By that level, is he probably going to drive the most votes to follow him. So if you got the biggest name in your district, the Congress member to endorse you, and you secure the half of the vote. And then it's you go to the county level or the state level, those endorsement is very important too. But for the Andrews, New York City, and New York have a 51 city council seat. So every city council seat is very important, and also it's New York also is have a lot of congressional seat, and also have a state level seat, both state assembly member and the state senator level. So we have a team to focus every single elected official.
No way.
Every single one. We have 10 people working with.
Who are just doing endorsements.
Pardon?
They're just doing endorsements, like you have an endorsements team.
We have an endorsement team. We call it a political outreach team. So we have more than 10 people. They just call office one by one. And all these people, they have a previous connection to every single office or every elected official, because it's politics is all relationship.
Right.
So if you build your previous trust or relationship or help them win the election, these people are going to return the favor to you. So it's the kind of based on the relationship. But
right. I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of deal.
Yeah. That's the in lay person's saying is that way. But also they are going to evaluate whether you are a viable candidate and your policies whether fit their constituents the benefit, and then they can represent their constituents to endorse you, and the policy you have share the same value, and the public in the future when you design your policy, they're going to benefit from your policy, and then they start to endorse you. But also it's very critical. Their endorsement means they put all the trust on you. So it's if you break law or did bad things, they got to suffer too. So this is a very, very tricky thing. The endorsement is be evaluated and very careful to do the political calculation.
So tell me a little bit about how you chose Grace Meng, because I know that you were really pushing for her to endorse Andrew.
Yeah.
Was it your doing to kind of encourage the campaign to go after her?
Yeah, and of course, it's the campaign. We have a particular person who is in charge of political outreach, and also it's the API community in New York is probably take a 10% the people, and that part is pretty important. And also, I focus on the API because the API is a very important part of the election. API block. If we win the Grace Meng's endorsement, most Asian going to follow her because her reputation and the influence in the Asian community. Start from January, I start to outreach to Grace Meng and her office, because in 2016 and maybe 15, when she ran the congressional seat, she came to Silicon Valley, and I have done the fundraising for her. So it's a kind of a relationship built in long years before. So that part is give me access to her and her office. So I start to outreach to her. And also for the Silicon Valley, a lot of big donors are long-term supporters. And I try to ask them to write letter, call her office, call herself, and ask for her endorsement. But Grace Meng have a very influential, is a national figure. So to win her endorsement is a very challenging. She has to consider his local district, the politics. There are a lot of people, and also some opponent or is a competitor with Andrew, still have a relationship with her as well. So
right, because she's kind of, from Flushing. That's her district.
So there's Erica Adams and Scott Stringer. They have a long-term relationship with Grace Meng as well. So we do a lot of polling report to Grace Meng, and also give her the number, how much money we raise. So in the first quarter, we raised 6 million in compared with other candidates. This is the historical record for the city mayor to raise money in 3 months to catch up, become a number 1, number 2 fundraiser. That's kind of give the Grace Meng some confidence that we probably is going to have the big winning chance. And we have a 15 to 20 public and private poll, and every poll indicated Andrew is a front runner. That boosts Grace Meng's confidence as well. And if bet on Andrew, she's probably going to be the big winner as well.
I guess money talks, doesn't it?
We cannot see money talk, but the money did talk in politics.
And so then you've decided on Grace Meng. You're getting donors to reach out to her. what else is the process about, like, in soliciting an endorsement? Like, are you putting her in the room with Andrew? What's that like?
Yeah, basically there's several. It's the open or it's a private. In the open part, it's at least from my side, it's by one part is we try to ask a donor to do some call, but also it's we want to all Chinese community leaders in the New York City and deliver some message to Grace Meng's office. It's all the community, Chinese community or Asian communities behind Andrew and make a I cannot say 100 phone call, but it's a lot of phone call to her office. And also it's Grace Meng has a great father. His father is the Guangrui Meng. He was the first one elected on the state level as assembly member. And his impact is going to extend it to her daughter. So it's
so kind of a political legacy.
Yeah. So we ask a lot of people to call her father and try to convince her father to convince Grace Meng to endorse Andrew. At that time, I set up a meeting between Andrew and Grace Meng's father in one by one. So in that meeting is going to be kind of a pretty successful. It's Grace Meng's father is verbally in front of Andrew say, I support you. And also we got a lot of not only endorsement, but also drive a lot of money to this particular the endorsement from her father. And then it's this transfer into the impact to the Grace Meng's in the endorsement.
And what do you think ultimately was like the factor that really like tipped her in favor of endorsing Andrew? Because I know she was hesitant given all the power that her endorsement has and how many candidates there are. So was it a policy position or did they just like hit it off as people? Like what do you think the deciding factor was?
I personally think Grace Meng is a national Asians leader, almost not the number one, but at least almost number one influencer in the national Asian community. So her endorsement is going to deliver the message to the entire nation. That's the Asian, we need a more representative in this country. And the New York City is number one among the impact of all the levels of politics, and also it's from a major media exposure. Every single move the New York mayor do is going to have a national impact. So if Andrew can win the mayorship of New York, he and Grace Meng going to team up to do a lot of experimental in New York City and generate some national impact to help Grace Meng to achieve her agenda in the Congress and at the national level. I think it's the purpose. She can benefit from this endorsement. And of course, at the other time, the political calculation from money side, we raise money continually. Every day we flood in the money. That's going to help Grace Meng's future fundraising as well. And the polling, as I said, every polling shows Andrew is a front runner, and she doesn't lose any political assets if Andrew wins.
I don't know much about like Grace Meng's kind of policy identity and how well does that match up with Andrew's kind of, I guess, I don't know, would you categorize it as like center left? Kind of like where do they have overlap?
Yeah, in general, it's on the Asian side, most Asians the interest or the question or issue they concern, they share the same. That's probably the most aligned part. But for the policy, I think it's Grace Meng is like a grassroots politician, start from a local level and care about the local, like sanitary, the road, to clean the street and take care of the non-profit organizations, the organization and the health issue. Those are the local issue. For the Andrew, he from a national finger coming down to the local level, and his local issue is I think is the most in alliance with Grace Meng's policy as well.
Oh, so he's kind of a gonna say that again. So he's kind of a big picture guy, and she's like got the details.
Kind of, but you cannot the compare the person to person. Both have some national vision as well.
Mm-hmm. And are there any other exciting endorsements kind of to talk about coming Andrew's way, or who's kind of the next target?
I think it's it's our campaign team is run the Michael Bloomberg's campaign team. So
right,
it's
lots of common.
yeah.
Staff.
I think it's pro is better than cons because New York City has been suffering the pandemic and
so like an endorsement from Michael Bloomberg.
Yeah, I'm thinking potentially, okay,
yeah.
but not yet. And also, it's the Michael Bloomberg is looking for some people for this 2021 election. Someone is going to inherit his legacy because he has run New York City. It's pretty good. He has no experience in run the city, and also it's from business side. It's Andrew have a lot of business vision and also pragmatic try to bring the business pull back from Florida back to the New York City again to recover economy and tourists. That's kind of in line with Michael Bloomberg's vision. On the politician side, I think the top politician in New York City is Charles Schumer. He's the chair for the senator at this moment.
Right, Chuck Schumer.
Andrew has helped Democratic Party to win the senator back and in the Georgia.
Right.
So that's gave the Charles Schumer's chair the position to to run the Senate majority. That's part is a big favor to Charles Schumer. So it's I don't know it's a behind the scene or the final is we can win the Charles Schumer's endorsement or not, but at least Charles Schumer and Andrew have pretty good personal relationship. So it's even he don't openly endorse Andrew, we still value his appearance and also it's the consultation about how we run the city and how we run the country.
And it's kind of more even than policy. It's kind of about chemistry, right? So like, how do you make sure that like when you're matchmaking politicians together, what makes like a good political date? What makes a good political relationship?
That's true. That's very true because when you meet with certain politicians, you can immediately feel whether you can be alliance or becoming friend, or it's just strangers to each other, or it's you hate to each other. It's most politicians they cannot go beyond their personal impression or personal chemistry to each other.
So like, is there any way to kind of manipulate it a little bit, or are you just kind of like it's an uncontrollable force? You just have to hope that if you get them in the room, they're going to get along.
I think it is a kind of a controllable. I personally think it's a controllable. It's because when the endorsement in the process, it's always a kind of a negotiation, and also it's some trade-off. And probably I probably going to assign some certain position in the future and make sure you can supply the talent for the future of my administration, especially in the New York City. New York City is too big, and also we have like a 320 employees, cities employees, and
325,000, right?
Yeah, they're so big, and then it's among the police department, they have like a 32,000 police. The police is already, and then it's you need every position have a person you trust and go through the endorsement, and the people going to help you to fill in those positions as well for the future. Yeah.
Politics is people. We're ending on it again. It's a good place to wrap up. And we will close it there for this week. Don, thanks for giving us some insider info and indulging my gossipy side, of course.
Thank you very much. It's so happy to talking about the endorsement, although it's not money talk, but also you can feel the money, votes, and the endorsement is all related to each other, and that's why it's so amazing if you have any chance or anyone have a chance to get involved in the campaign cycle or election, just get involved and you will like it.
I know. I love also the breakdown that you gave me of like the three categories. I know we're supposed to be wrapping up, but I feel like you need to teach political science because like that, like endorsements, money, voter outreach is such a helpful frame. Anyway, consider teaching. And we'll wrap it up there. Don, of course, thank you. My name is Katie Simpson. Our podcast is sponsored by Asian American Forward. You can visit our website at www.asianamericanforward.com. If you enjoyed the show this week or have a topic you'd like to hear us discuss on a future episode, send us your comments at info@asianamericanforward.com. We would love to hear from you also on our Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as well and hear more conversations between Don and I at our YouTube channel. If you're a fan of the show, leave us a review in the Apple Podcast Store or tell someone about us. It really helps people find the show. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.